Hey, so Jeff, this is amazing stuff. Do you mind for everybody can you share either a couple examples of real people that you're working with, or when they came to you, you could have saved them if they came to you a year before and done this right?
Yeah, so one example is, and this is really a tragedy, I knew somebody in the Broken Bow, Oklahoma area, which is very popular vacation rental area, thousands and thousands of properties there. They reached out to me originally and they wanted to know more information about short-term rental protection, asset protection generally. I gave them kind of a full rundown of everything that they needed to do, but between the time they met with me and before they made a decision about what they wanted to do, they had a guest come and stay at the property. And as they were there, it was a very beautiful cabin. The cabin, probably $1 million cabin, right, had could sleep 20 plus people. So the family came and stayed. They were on the back patio, having a great time, cooking hot dogs, bratwurst, hamburgers, everything else. The problem was they weren't paying attention to the grill. And
it's never happened.
Yeah, right. All of us guys know this. We're busy doing other things. All of a sudden, a grease fire erupts, right? Mm-hmm. And it's under the covered patio area, beautiful, huge covered patio. But the grease fire got a little out of control. They weren't paying attention because they were out on their pickleball court that was out in the back. And then all of a sudden they see the fire, they try to run over, and even though I know whether the fire extinguisher would have put out a grease fire or not, the point is they didn't do anything. They literally panicked. They didn't call 911. They got in their car, they loaded up their stuff, and they drove away. Wow. Now, what started off as a grease fire turned into a cabin fire that turned in the entire investment being on fire. And as a result of that, here's the lesson they learned. Number one, they had the wrong kind of insurance. Yeah. They had a second home residential policy that did not provide what's called an all-risk policy that allowed them, if someone burns down their cabin, this was a commercial activity. Number one, they were underinsured because the cost of being able to rebuild relative to what they were insured for left them a $250,000 gap in coverage. But secondly, they still have to pay for all this stuff. Like, they have a mortgage, right? And so what are they going to do? Try to sue these people? Their insurance company's not going to help them. And they didn't have the property properly in an asset protection structure as well. This is an example that every layer matters, right? Now, I bring that up to say this completely stymied these people. Literally from that point forward, they couldn't buy another investment for years because they were stuck there. They were having a loan that they had to pay. By the way, it took them 15 months to do a rebuild. So think about doing the rebuild. During that time, they still had to do more. They had to pay their mortgage. Wow. During that period of time, they didn't have loss of income coverage for the commercial insurance policy, which meant all of it came out of their pocket. So they weren't properly insured. And I use that as an example to talk about why insurance is a layer that's very important. Then I'm going to show you another example.
Well, I got a question. This is kind of a stupid question, just because I'm being the naive person here. So when you work with people, which I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit of how you actually help people, but like you actually review all their insurance policies to make sure that they have the right insurance for their entire asset.
Absolutely. And actually, this is a really good point. And just to give people a preview of this, one way to do that is I tell everybody, if you go to your policy, page 60 to 80 range of your policy, no one reads back there. All they do is read the primary lead sheet on everything, and they look to see what their coverage is.
It's some homework for everybody.
Right. So seriously, get to your policy, and what you're going to find out is page 60 to 80, you're going to have a section known as exclusions. In that exclusion section, there's going to be what's called business or commercial use exclusions. No one reads it. No one pays attention to it. But I find a lot of insurance agents, and this is why we provide this as a service. You want to make sure you get the right coverage. A lot of insurance agents will come to you and say, hey, you're covered. We're going to add even a little short-term rental rider onto this. Yeah. How many days do you think a year do you rent this out? And then people always underestimate it because they don't want to pay as much. They go, does it maybe 120, 180? And then if you do well, you're renting it out all the time, right? And so but in that section, there's a section that says commercial use or business exclusion, business activity exclusions. Every court in the country has ruled that short-term rental activity is business use or commercial use. So what do you think? I talked about this earlier. It's a third party that wants to deny your claim. What do you think you're giving them if you get this type of coverage? If a liability event takes place and you show up in court, what do you think the insurance attorney is going to argue? It's exclusions right here. Wow. They should have read it. It was on page 60 to 80. So a lot of people come to us and clients will say, let's read it.
Ask a dumb question. So what you're saying is that the insurance agent is selling you the insurance coverage you need, but then when you go to court, it's the wrong insurance.
And here's one reason.
Possible. Like, okay, let's just say everyone has the best of intentions.
Right. Yeah, and here's part
Why
of the,
does this happen? Is
well,
what I'm
part of the
trying to
reason why this happens, great question. Part of the reason why this happens is over 70% of short-term rental owners don't even have, they buy a property in their personal name. So they don't buy it in an LLC. They don't have it in an LLC. When do you get insurance? You get insurance when you buy the property, right? Yeah. So you do that at closing. You have to have insurance before you go to closing. Your mortgage company's not going to agree to the loan. So what happens is you call and you tell them, I'm buying a short-term rental property. Okay, you don't tell them it's in an LLC, so they're not going to push you to the commercial division. You're buying it in your personal name. So what are they going to do? Give you a residential policy. Wow. And they don't care because they're making money on the policy. And it's up to you. The burden is on you to read your policy language, not on the insurance provider. Wow. You can get insurance for anything, and it may not cover you if you don't know how to read it. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why that happens.
Okay, well, I just gotta say to everybody, like, if you're watching this right now and you're as sick to your stomach as I am right now about how you are potentially exposed, even just we haven't even gone over the plan yet. Just make sure you go to strlawguys.com. You can get a consult with Jeff or one of his team members.